Welcome to CEEL Movie Recaps. Today I am going to explain a thriller movie to Freedom released in 2023. The movie opens to a wedding preparation. Here we learnt that the bride's name is Shola. Shola is marrying Toby. The two seem to be so much in love. Here we see Toby bringing breakfast in bed for Shola as well as gifts. Shola seems down, but we don't know yet what the problem is, but Toby seems to be taking good care of her. Next we see Toby and his friend discussing work issues. Toby is bragging to his friend how his wealth is the key to Shola's speedy recovery after her eye surgery a few months ago. Toby is a very wealthy man and the owner of the company his friend partners in. He seems to be full of himself the way the brags about how his money makes the world go round with him at the center of it. Here we notice that Kev is a loyal friend to Toby and holds him in high regards. Kev wishes for the kind of love Toby and Shola shares as he begs for love tips from Toby for a dinner date he has later that day with his girlfriend. Shola and Toby are seen enjoying a music video. Toby teases Shola about her constant pushing of an imaginary glasses up her nose even though she no longer wears one because she had a corrective surgery 2 years ago. Toby's mood changes as he discovers that his wife has been making some money transactions behind his back. This made him angry as they both promised themselves to always be in sync. Toby notices a debit alert on Shola's phone that he wasn't aware of and confronts his wife about, but she tried talking her way out of it. The next scene shows Shola all dressed up about to head to the supermarket. Her husband tries to stop her, explaining that it's the work he hired their house help for, but Shola insists it's something she must do herself. He reluctantly agrees and let her go. Shola then kisses her husband and heads to the supermarket. The next thing we see is Toby receiving a distress call from his wife about a flat tire and low battery problems and asks to be picked up. Due to the heavy storm outside, there were distortions on the line, so Toby was unable to comprehend what the wife was saying, so he rushed to the supermarket where the wife usually shops. The people there acknowledged she was there when showed her photo, but they all said she left immediately after shopping. This leaves Toby in disarray. Toby was certain that his wife has been kidnapped, but Kev assures him that he is wrong and Shola will turn up somehow. A year has passed and not even the detectives Toby hired could find Shola. They tried telling him that, after a year, a missing persons case is usually very difficult to solve and advised him to move on with his life. He rebuked them, saying that giving him advice is not the reason he hired them, and chased them out of his home. Toby has been searching non-stop for his wife in the past year, with no possible lead. This is the one thing his wealth hasn't been able to solve for him, and this leaves him depressed and helpless. Everyone around seems to think that he should move on with his life, but Toby is hell-bent on finding his missing wife, whom he is sure has been kidnapped and hasn't moved away on her own accord like everyone seems to think. Kev reassures Toby that if his wife is actually missing, she will turn up someday. Kev advises Toby to pick up the pieces of his life with a quote he came across on social media that says, "If you don't like where you are, move because you are not a tree." This infuriates Toby because he doesn't know where to move to without his wife. It has been revealed that Toby hasn't been to the office for over a year. He got a call from Kev informing him of Shola's burial that is being organized by her parents in order for them to gain closure. The scene shifts to a flashback where we can see the couple cuddling and discussing about a man that recently lost his wife to an accident. Here we can see Shola suggesting to Toby not to mourn her for so long if anything were to happen to her, that he should live his life for both of them. But Toby interrupts her and told her that nothing can come between them. They both agreed, saying, "In sync till death do us part." Toby somehow made it to the funeral and was shocked and was sure that he saw a glimpse of his wife for a second, but Kev brushes it off, saying that it must be his imagination playing tricks on him. Toby wasn't himself during the whole funeral service because he was convinced that he saw Shola, but everyone kept saying that it must be a figment of his imagination. Kev managed to calm him down and reassured him the funeral doesn't mean that he should stop looking for Shola but to pay respects to her parents. Shola's parents are also seen consoling Toby because he seemed to have taken the situation the farthest. He lost himself since Shola's disappearance. The burial came to a closure, after a series of prayers for the departed and the reassurances of his loved ones. In another flashback, we can see Shola thanking her husband for the donation that he made to her for the tuition of the poor kids in her foundation. Remembering this while sniffing and wearing his wife's clothes brought tears to Toby's eyes. Toby finally managed to go back to work after much persuasion from his dear friend. The next thing we see is Toby receiving a 2 million debit notification from his work laptop. Apparently he heeded the advice of his friend to delete everything regarding Shola but didn't delete the mail logins of Shola on his work computer because he hadn't been to work since her disappearance. He was denied access to her bank detail because apparently only the account owner can have the details of their account. As a wealthy man with connections, he was able to pull some strings and got the camera footage of the withdrawal, and to his horror it was someone that looked like Shola that made the withdrawals. At this point Toby was convinced that Shola is still alive and stormed to her parents' house demanding to see her. Her parents were shocked because they thought that everyone has made peace with Shola's demise and likened Toby's behavior to that of a madman. Toby completely ignored them and searched the entire house looking for Shola. When he got tired and couldn't find her, they calmed him down and recommended a shrink that helped them come to terms with Shola's demise. As Toby kept saying that the person that made those withdrawals does the same gesture of pushing imaginary glasses up the nose just like Shola, so she must be the one, but Kev tells him that it must have been a hacker posing as Shola since the footage didn't clearly show the face of the woman. Kev also told him that he agrees with Shola's parents about him seeing a shrink, and he reluctantly agreed. Toby sought the services of the recommended shrink for a year. There he poured out his whole heart to her and finally got the help that he needs. She listened to him as he poured out all his frustrations and emotions and was finally ready to go back to work after a whole year. Toby is seen looking brighter as he seems to have gotten himself back after 2 years since Shola got missing. He even went out on a date with a dashing young lady where they seemed to be enjoying each other's company. Coincidentally, a former colleague of Shola's bumped into them as they were having dinner. He was angry with Toby for not honoring his invitation for a fundraising he organized, and Toby then apologized, so he went ahead and showed him the pictures of the events. The event was a huge success. Something shocking happened. Toby got angry as he saw someone that looked like Shola from the pictures and demanded to know where she was hiding, but the friend was as shocked as he was. The event took him back to the shrink's office. There he got into an argument with her. He started questioning his sanity again and sunk into another depression. This infuriates Kev and he lashes out at him, and they almost got into a fight because of this. Toby started neglecting his duties at work, and this made Kev so angry that he almost beat him up. Toby went back to seek help from the shrink and ended up admitted to her facility. Toby is seen looking pale despite the treatments he was receiving from the shrink. Toby asked his caregiver why his pills was being changed, and she explained, saying that they changed the company they purchased drugs from, but it's the same drug, just a different color and much more expensive, so he reluctantly took them. Toby unknowingly signed some papers that Kev brought to him. The next morning when he opened his eyes, he saw Shola standing in front of him saying thank you. He asked her why she did what she did when all he did was love her. We then discovered in another flashback that Toby has been physically abusing her with the slightest provocation. Even when she reported to her parents were not able to help her. They called the police on him once, but instead of Toby to be arrested, he made a call to the chief of police and Shola's father was arrested instead. Evidently, Toby is so powerful and influential that no one could stand up to him. Toby is seen slapping and dragging Shola right before her helpless mother's eyes. It has been made evident that the feeling Toby has for Shola is far from love but obsession. In another attempt to escape, Shola booked a one-way ticket to Istanbul but was caught by Toby, who came home unexpectedly. She tried talking her way out of it, but Toby wasn't buying any of it. He rather threatened to end her life if she tries to escape again. Kev is seen confessing in tears that Toby has beaten another lady called Esther to death, and his best, he couldn't do anything at that time, but now his conscience won't allow him watch his friend kill another. Kev then came up with the plan for Shola to disappear. Back then when Esther was beaten and taken to the hospital, it was too late. The doctors couldn't help her. All the money that Toby has wasn't able to bring her back. As Kev couldn't testify against his friend, the death of Esther was buried and no one dared to accuse Toby. Kev, Shola and her parents actually came together and agreed that the only solution to the problem they are facing is to fake Shola's disappearance, since every other attempt to stop Toby from hurting Shola has proven abortive. They planned and had Shola place the distress call to her husband to rattle him. Following this, they paid the mall staff to lie that they saw her that night just to mislead Toby. It was actually Kev's plan in motion the night Shola disappeared. Toby was actually right when he said he saw Shola on the day of her funeral, but was later dissuaded from the truth by his friend. However, they drugged and had Toby sign his own divorce papers without knowing. Kev then handed the signed divorce papers to Shola's parents, and this means that Shola is finally free from her obsessive husband. Shola and Kev are seen celebrating their success, and it's seen that the shrink is Kev's little cousin. Shola is still skeptical about Toby being alive. Knowing whom she married, Toby will surely seek revenge against her, but the shrink reassures her that with the new medication that he is being placed upon will reduce him to a mere vegetable. In the last scene, we can see Toby spitting out the pills that was fed to him as he muttered, "I am coming for you." Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for our weekly videos.